Do you find that being African American has more advantage or disadvantage in the modern world?
It's a tough one.
Yeah, I don't know, man. Hey. Yo, my man. They were asking me about the African-American experience. Maybe you could take this one.
Oh. Well, I find that the African-American experience for me has been, for the most part, very good. Although, I find it difficult to go into detail as I haven't had much desire to leave the house in a while.
We've become such homebodies.
Yes, but even when you go into the city, I've just had no interest. The chores have become my sanctuary. Get out.
Sorry, man.
Okay.
Get out!
Yo!
Yeah!
Yo, chill, man.
Get out!
Chill!
Chill, man! Chill!
Welcome, everyone. I'm Heath.
And I'm Jay.
And you're listening to Host of Horror, show where we discuss and review horror films based off of predetermined themes of the month. Jay!
Welcome to Black History Month, guys.
Woo!
So, of course, me being black, of course, and want to be a black filmmaker and being a black filmmaker, I believe that we don't have enough American black filmmakers in general that are famous, let alone for horror. Yeah. So I like to take the time to honor all of the black horror directors that are around. There are very few that we have. So we're starting out with what we can say a classic in black horror.
Already, and it's not even that old.
It's only about 5 years old. 2017.
2017, yeah. But before we get into that, I just want to say, like, the huge gap in black American directors in horror, because there's plenty of other black directors out there, but I'm specifically speaking of American horror directors, because you had that huge bump in the 70s with blaxploitation. I cannot think of his name right now, but he did Blackula and Blackenstein, and you had a bunch of other horror movies like that. But other than a handful, like, I think there was a couple in the 90s, a few in the early 2000s. If it wasn't for Jordan Peele, even Jordan Peele, like, he's really just, like, him and his team are the only sole voice of black American directors that are, even though there's a renaissance right now. I feel like there is a renaissance, and there will be more coming soon. Now, this is about it, and it's so sad to think about that.
It's a renaissance, and Jordan Peele is basically the face of it, for better and or for worse. Because I know there's going to be black directors who make horror films that probably have great ideas that probably will direct circles around Jordan Peele. But you know how Hollywood is. There's only be one. There can only be one. So that's why Jordan Peele feels like it's the face of it. And when you think about Jordan Peele, you don't really think of horror first and foremost. You think of Key and Peele. You think of comedy. You think of him being mixed race or whatever.
I
you
go
think
further
of all
than
that.
I think of Mad TV.
Oh wow, that is a throwback.
That's a throwback, but dude, that's where I know him from. Like, sketch comedy that's what he was known for. So when I found out he was doing a horror movie, I was like, really? That guy? Really? I am so glad he did. Because even though there are horror films out there that are geared towards a black audience,
a lot of them are parodies because, parodies.
I mean, you have movies like Holla, you have movies like Leprechaun in the Hood, you have movies like Killjoy, but they're all done by white people. And white people produced it, a white guy directed it, white guy wrote it. It just has a black cast and geared towards a black audience.
The main weird thing about it is that, like, have you noticed that all it says either From the Hood or has to do with like black culture, black slang, hood shit.
No, it's literally geared towards making money rather than being a voice for black people.
It's literally exploitation.
Exactly.
Which leads into a lot of the many topics of Get Out.
Yes.
So, of course, Get Out is written and directed by Jordan Peele.
And is the movie for discussion today. We kind of forgot to mention that.
I mean, yeah, we're talking about that.
Yeah, I mean,
it's a classic.
Gearing off with the whole Renaissance and what I hope we get more of, Jordan Peele really knocked it out of the park with this movie.
Of course. And it stars Daniel Kaluuya as the role of Chris. I can't remember the last name. Don't at me on it. Chris Washington.
Yeah.
So, right off the bat, Daniel Kaluuya, my man. See, this is where everybody found out about Daniel Kaluuya from. But I found out recently that he was on a show that I kind of liked back when I was, not I want to say a kid, but when I was like a teenager, finding shows illegally. Skins, the UK Skins. He was part of that cast. And once I realized that, I was like, oh, okay. Of course, Daniel Kaluuya will have a fast track to a great career and even winning a freaking Oscar for one of his recent roles. But this is like where I kind of, everybody discovered Daniel Kaluuya. And I think he did an amazing job. His facial expressions, his emotionality as someone, even though he's British, he still was able to understand the nuances of what Jordan Peele was trying to do with this movie. Honestly, there was a lot of different layers to this film that, of course, talking about it 5 years later, a lot of us either pick up on or gets talked about a lot because it's a classic. So let's talk about it.
Yeah, let's just get into it. So basically the movie starts out with this first scene, this opening scene. Not only because I'm a huge champion of the opening scene tells you everything you need to know about the movie you're getting into. And Jordan Peele knocked it out of the park with this scene.
My boy.
Go!
So, the beginning scene basically features the Lakeith Stanfield's character, Dre, who basically, is kind of like coming home in this very affluent looking neighborhood.
No, he's not going home. He's meeting someone.
Oh, I'm sorry.
He's going to meet...
Yeah, he's meeting someone. Wasn't it for a party, I think?
No, I think he was meeting... Honestly, I want to say old girl. Allison Williams' character.
Oh.
Is that her name, Allison?
It was Allison something. I think Allison Williams.
Yeah, Allison Williams. Meeting her character. I'm not sure, but he says, you got me out in this suburb ass neighborhood, trying to meet you, and he's talking to someone, texting, I think. And you get a car pulls up right next to him and just starts following him. At that point, he says, you know what? Fuck it. I'm out of here. I mean, he does the smart call. He says, fuck it. I'm out of here. And he turns around and starts walking the other way. Well, the camera turns to reveal the car parked and the door open. And homeboy's like, what the fuck? And right there, it's just tension filled. I mean, because there's no music at this point. I mean, you hear like the radio playing, but there's no, it's just tension. Just oozing tension before someone sneaks up behind him with this medieval like knight's helmet, which
that was weird.
Well, to me, it shows the barbaric nature of the family. I think there's a lot of foreshadowing in this movie, like a lot of foreshadowing, which I appreciate so much.
I kind of have a lot to say about the medieval knight thing, but I'm gonna save it for later.
Okay.
So this scene, according to Peele, reminds him of Halloween. So obviously, I can get the parallels from Halloween from an instant, from the street, from the car, from the person walking down the street, like
Masked vigilante.
Like Jamie Lee Curtis, she would be proud.
Mm-hmm.
I think she is proud because I feel like that was one of the best homages to Halloween I've seen.
Yeah, because the neighborhood looked like a neighborhood from Halloween. You got the stalking with the car. You got the masked figure coming out from behind. Yeah, I mean, it really is. It's a huge homage to Halloween.
And it does set the tone for everything. So
yeah,
the next...
because Homeboy's abducted at this point. I mean, guy comes up behind him, chokes him out. He's out, cold, and locks him in the trunk and drives off. All while this song is playing. It's like I can't make it out, but like the lyrics are "Run Rabbit Run." Yeah, but
oh my god,
it plays into the hunter and the hunted theme, which I want to get into later when we bring up like all the deer metaphors. Because I feel like we'll get into that.
I didn't even think about the whole, hunter versus prey thing. Oh my god. Oh, that's gonna be lit. Okay, so let's go. Let's go on with it. It cuts to the title sequence, and I think is one of the most classic feelings of a horror film is that it's a very generic looking. It's not stylized. It's not like in your face. It's just like Get Out, a Jordan Peele film, all against a just almost like static background. Like,
but it's wooded.
Mm-hmm.
That's I do like the parallels between because you get the first part of the opening credits scene is basically like what you would see if you're driving away from the woods in a car ride, looking at the trees passing. And then it cuts to Chris in his apartment, showering, getting ready for the day, and it's nice, clean apartment, city life. So you got country life, city life. Again, you got
this kind of like a city slicker. Yeah. I won't say city slicker, but like person who's of the city. And I think at the same time you had this montage. You get Allison like getting ready and trying to like heading over there. I think.
Yeah, she's choosing like a pastry dish or something.
Yeah, like kind of just getting ready for the day. And then you see Chris open up the door and hey, look. It's Allison Williams. It's Rose.
Rose, that fucking lizard person. No, I will get into this. Dude, when she does a 360 on, because you knew she was evil from like the get-go. Like, it's just, there's no way your family is this blatantly racist and you're not. I'm sorry. There's something off with you. As soon as, like, I was okay with you in the beginning, then we met your family. I'm like, okay, there's something weird about you. And then you go full fucking Zuckerberg on me. It's not okay. It's not okay, Rose.
You know what, though? Honestly, if this character made me hate Allison Williams and makes me never want to see anything of hers.
What's sad is she's not in a whole lot. I thought she did really good in this movie, and I was like, oh yeah, she's going places.
No, I just think it's like the implications of this specific character that kind of like fucked up her own career, which is kind of sad because like she can play. I think she plays a villain very, very well. So they're talking and
about their weekend trip to go meet her family.
And honestly, girl, I feel Chris so much because like with the implications of everything going on, especially at the time this movie was filmed and released, I'm also like, I don't know how to feel about meeting your family because, you're white. And I'm like, I get it because a lot of white families are similar to Rose. It's not to that extreme, but like they always talk about like, oh, they always want to bring up the black issues instead of just, being. And they always want to be like, oh yeah, I like Obama. Oh yeah, this and that. Like they tried to insert blackness into so many different parts of conversations that you're just like, why can't you just talk about me? Why is my blackness such a different kind of feeling to you? To where you feel like you have to always like talk about it or bring it up or try to quote unquote appease me when you're obviously like saying this so you won't like, so I won't like judge you if once it comes out that you're a freaking racist or something. Like it's normal. So I understand his hesitation.
Yeah,
his like indifference.
It reminds me of that South Park episode where Stan keeps trying to tell Token that he understands, he gets it, and Token's like, no, you don't. And Stan's like, I'm sitting here trying to understand it, but you keep saying I don't understand it, and it's not until the end that he's like, you're right. I don't understand it. I don't know what it's like to be black, and I never will. And Token's like, now you get it, Stan. You're right. I don't get it. And that's it. That's all. That's for them to sit there and go, say all the things that they say and act the way that they act to accept Chris into the family really what they're doing is sitting there making him more uncomfortable. Because the whole time he's like, I understand, I get it, I know what it looks like. Like, no, dude, you as a white person do not know, and you never will.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like that's a lot of the uncomfortableness Chris is going through just in the beginning before shit gets really uncomfortable.
And honestly, like I said, I completely feel that discomfort and like the hesitation for going. So it's kind of like, But here's one thing about Chris's character that is brought up immediately. So before he gets to Rose, you have a whole bunch of black and white pictures being printed out. Of course, that means something, right? Chris is a photographer, which will come into play way later. And honestly, in some really great cinematic moments that I think were like pivotal to my experience watching this film, even for a second time. So yeah, they're talking, and honestly, my God, I feel like this film is not triggering to me, but there's so much I relate to this film that it just, everything just kind of blurs together after a certain point. And I'm like, yep, been through this before. But yeah.
So Rose and Chris, they get in their car and they start heading to her folks' house. This is the point where we are introduced to the best character in the entire fucking movie. My man, Rod.
I love Rod.
I love Rod so much, man.
No, he honestly, like, obviously Rod was the comic relief in the movie, and it comes out the gate, and like he's doing what like I'll do or people have done to me. I'm like, why are you going to that girl's house? You know you gotta leave. You know they're gonna do some weird ass shit. Like, why are you even doing this? And I'm like, you know what? You're right, dog. But at the same time, it's like you wanna, you're been around for how long? I think they've been together for a certain amount of time.
Yeah, they've been friends. Or Rose and Chris, they've been together for 4 months.
Yeah, for a certain amount of time and all of that. And I was like, okay, I guess it's time to meet the parents and whatnot. So it's like I too would make fun of you, like, but not in like in a hateful kind of way, but more so in a playful kind of way. Like, and especially with her like insisting, like really trying to be like, hey, I want to talk to him. Because it comes off as her kind of actively trying to be involved in his life, which I'm like, okay. Before everything goes to shit, you're like, okay, she's trying to be a decent girlfriend and all of that. I get it.
Being friendly with the friend or whatever, yada yada.
Mm-hmm.
When you think about it, this movie deserves so many second watches. Like, to really get all the nuances in the writing, you have to watch this movie multiple times, because after you know everything, you realize she wants to control the conversation. She wants to know what him and Rod are exactly talking about, so she knows what to say later or how to swivel the environment or the situation a certain way.
And honestly, not that I really respect her, but it's the fact that it kind of plays off like a master manipulator kind of feel.
Which she is.
That is some really manipulative shit when you look at it. And I'm like, oh, that's genius.
Mm-hmm.
As Lil Rel's character will say later on, fuck, she's a genius. And at this point, they get fucking hit by a random animal.
Hey, that deer did not hit them. They hit that deer.
Honestly,
Good,
if you
sir.
want to be real, that shit came out of nowhere. Like,
oh yeah, no, honestly,
that shit came out of nowhere. And like every time I see it, I'm like,
no, as a person who A, has experienced hitting a deer before, and B, grew up in the middle of bumfuck nowhere where you have to drive 30 miles under the speed limit so you don't hit a goddamn deer. Yeah, they come out of fucking nowhere.
not even gonna lie, that's another fear unlocked.
No, they do.
So basically, they get hit and they stop.
Nope, they hit the deer. They don't get hit. They hit the deer.
Okay, whatever. Incident happens.
The deer is the
and
victim.
there's a lot of blood. There's a lot of blood. And they get freaked out. And the first utterance of the word fuck gets mentioned because she said fuck. And I'm like, girl, I felt that fuck. Because that was no. And then let me finish. Hold on. Once the camera cuts to them outside, I don't know, there's a little bit too much blood on that. That was a lot of blood on that one side. On the one side of that, like that
Again.
thing was covered. That headlight was covered in blood.
Again, as a person who has experience running over a deer, that wasn't nowhere near enough blood.
That much blood.
Motherfuck.
That much blood.
Living things bleed, man.
I know, but that's
and when
a
you
lot of
hit
fucking
something,
blood.
you hit something going only 40. Only 40. And where I grew up, the speed limit was 65. That's when we hit the deer, was going 60 fucking 5. Even going 40, you hit something as big as a deer, it implodes. It goes boom. Body parts everywhere, blood everywhere. There was nowhere near enough blood. It's gross, I know.
Anyway,
But
so
what I want to bring up, because this comes back in mind, because I want to really talk about the deer symbolism in this goddamn movie. What I noticed watching it this time was Chris goes to look at the deer, goes to check the deer, goes to look at the deer, showing his kind heart, his concern for the living creature, where Rose utters, like you said, fuck, because her car got damaged. Not because she's hit the deer, not because she's worried about the deer, she's worried about the car. Showing the difference between the two people right then and there.
Yeah, that's a great character moment when you think about it. But, in
hindsight.
in hindsight. But it is still very, very interesting to look at it whenever you look at everything else that happens in the movie. And the next scene of that is the police. Ooh. And that scene, okay, full disclosure, everything about this movie makes me uncomfortable in some way, shape, or form, as being black and a photographer. And yeah, so forgive me if I'm like beating around the bush with a lot of things. I feel I think of trauma when I think of this movie. It's an amazing movie, but like I can only think of all the experiences I experienced as a black person, and it just like I get like some weird form of PTSD or something. I don't know. It's just so like if I beat around the bush a little bit more than usual, then forgive me, y'all.
That's why
you can talk crap all you want to, because yeah, this movie's a lot, and for good reason. It makes me feel a lot. So yeah, police scene, and
that police scene pissed me off because I watch a lot of Audit the Audit, and that motherfucker Audit the Audit. It's a YouTube channel where they show police encounters with citizens, and he gives rankings on how the police acted and how the citizen acted.
Oh.
And he breaks down not only state law, but like constitutional laws as well. And this motherfucking cop tried to break Chris's Fourth Amendment rights. Okay, so unless you're in a stop and identify state, Chris did not have to give him his ID whatsoever. I understand he was complying because, reasons, but me, as a white person, I'm sitting there going, yeah, I'm not giving you my goddamn, I'm not giving you my identification because, A, I need to know first off if that state is even a stop and identify law, because if it's not, fuck you. Second off, I'm not the driver, and this is a traffic stop. Okay, you're stopping me in traffic. You identify the driver, not me. Ever, unless I'm suspected of a crime, unless you can articulate the suspicion for the said crime that I am committing under the constitutional rights of the Fourth Amendment, I don't need to show you a goddamn thing. I don't have to give you my name. I don't have to give you my address. Fuck you, cop. You get back in your car and leave Chris alone.
So, considering that, I feel like they wouldn't have cared.
Oh, no, they wouldn't have cared, but, like, fuck you, dude.
But another thing that I just got brought up to whenever I was looking through the IMDb page after, how do you think about this? What if the reason, besides what you're talking about, the reason why she didn't give an ID, she refused to let Chris give her the ID, is not mainly because of, like, protecting Fourth Amendment rights. It's to not have a paper trail.
Yeah, to keep the cop from. I did. When I first saw the movie, I thought of that.
You picked up on it?
Because if let's say like a missing persons report for Chris Washington shows up, that one cop may be able to like recollect that one time he met a black guy that looked kind of like that. But if he has a whole report with his name and everything, he can sit there and go, a Chris Washington missing? Okay, I saw a Chris Washington.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, I did think of that.
Okay, yeah, that was something that I picked up on after that I was thinking about. I was like, goes to show more of a master manipulator that Rose was. So
fucking lizard person. Anyway, they end up at the house. I got jacked up about that Fourth Amendment thing.
You really did.
Dude, I'm sorry. Don't break my amendments, man. That's my freedoms, okay?
There's a lot of ways that can be taken. There's a lot of ways that can be taken.
Grr.
Anyway.
Anywho.
So they pull up to this plantation ass looking ass house. I honestly cannot remember where this all takes place. I was assuming,
let's say upstate New York.
Yeah, this is up north, yeah. So like,
because they did say homeboys from the Bronx. What was
from
his
Brooklyn?
Name?
Dre.
They did say
Brooklyn.
Dre was from Brooklyn, yeah.
So basically, yeah, they drove up to his plantation ass looking ass house, which even up north they still had shit like that. And
they establish the worker.
They establish. Honestly, I can't even remember if they gave him a name. I can't remember what his name was.
They did.
I cannot remember, and that breaks my heart because, like, once you realize all of the shit with the
Walter.
Oh, Walter,
the caretaker. Essentially.
Oh God, I hate that.
Yeah.
Okay. Anyway.
So they show Walter doing yard work because he's the caretaker of the house. And that is when we're introduced to most of the family, the husband and the wife. We will meet the brother later.
The Armitage family. And honestly, right from the get-go, they on some bullshit when it comes to, like, you know, seeing Chris. Because, like, it feels like they're trying to like pinpoint, get a lot of information out of him. They'd be like, oh yeah, honestly, Chris, the dad, the father gets on my nerves the most because, like, he reminds me of a sociology teacher at my old school that acts that same way, that he tries to understand, quote unquote, understand what it is to mean to be like a person of color. But I'm like, baby, you just because you got a sociology degree does not mean you really understand. You can empathize, you can do your research, but like emotionally, you probably will never understand this shit. And it's giving me like the same questions that someone would ask, like, you know, any kind of interracial relationship like that. And the fact that this is like, you know, the standard black man, white woman thing. Go on.
I was going to say, we get more of it once the son shows up, but I do like how all four members of the family show the four branches, like the four branches you expect of racism. So you have the dad, who is your passive aggressive racist. I would vote for Obama a third term. You know, it's so nice to experience other cultures, wouldn't you say? You know, that kind of just, it seems like he's trying so hard not to seem racist that he just seems overtly racist. Like that kind of passive aggressive bullshit. And then you got the son, who is the overly aggressive racist.
Can we talk about the son for like a good few minutes?
Well, I was gonna get into that when we first meet him.
Okay, yeah.
But he is the most aggressive with his racism, and I feel like that's why he has the medieval helmet, is to kind of artistically show that he is the most barbaric out of the entire family.
I think when it comes to the mom starts out kind of like going off as the person who is complicit in her silence.
She, to me, gave off domineering racism. I'm better than you. I am in charge. I'm the one giving the orders around here because she's the head of the household. But every interaction, every look, every glance that she gives Chris the entire time is that I'm above you kind of attitude.
And honestly, this pairs extremely well with Chris's. There's a lot of mannerisms that Chris shows that you can tell that it's discomfort. Like a lot of times whenever I get asked a question that's uncomfortable, he winks. He winks a lot.
Yeah, blinks, not winks, but yeah, blinks.
Honestly, that was more wink because the only one, his left eye only goes down because like it's like less of a twitch, more of like, okay, like he has to think about articulate everything he has to say, and it kind of I get it because like a lot of times. What I ended up getting, I put myself in this. Many times, whenever you're dealing with a lot of people, especially people of different cultures and creeds, it feels like you have to articulate everything you say in order to not really come off as either hostile, ghetto, or like someone lesser than, the absolute tip top.
Especially if you're being probed like they are. I mean, they're basically probing him with all the questions. And very invasive. That
coming out from the get-go, and it also shows more of Rose's manipulation because of the fact that she says, "Oh, whenever they ask how long they've been together, he's like 4 months," and it's like, "Oh no, it's 5," and then that goes into like, it goes into this old gendered thing. It's like, the woman's always right, the man's always wrong, kind of stuff like that. And I'm like, okay, I see what you're trying to go there.
Yeah,
it's a joke.
And Rose is the manipulative racism.
Yeah, because she says 5 months when he says 4 months, and I'm like, where's that extra month coming from? Mm-hmm. It's just weird, and she plays at the facade of like, oh yeah, bitch, what the fuck, like kind of playing off as like, oh my god, why are they acting like this? Why are they like acting like this, especially when Georgina whenever Georgina gets introduced, and the matriarch, I forgot her name already, is low-key kind of being rude, but there's a part of the conversation that leads to her kind of spacing out, which at this point, you can probably be like, okay, there's something obviously off.
This is the part where they're outside drinking tea, and that's when the conversation leads to the party that they're going to have this weekend. Mm-hmm. And Rose is all like, oh, is it this weekend? Yeah. Lying,
party? Bitch. What you mean party?
But anyway, so Georgina has a moment where, and I forget what they said. Something was said that triggered her.
I forgot what it was per se, but it did trigger her, and it causes her to, make a like lapse and go into, and then that was a good take because like, I don't even think anything spilled, but like you can tell that like a Christmas cup was being filled all the way with the sweet. Was it sweet tea or unsweet tea? No,
doesn't matter.
Then again, they're up north, so I'm assuming unsweet because they're up north, but that's a southern versus northern thing. But anyway, yeah, that was one of my, I guess, favorite moments, like starting out the mystery of it all.
Yeah, and she kind of like stares off into space, and I think she almost tears up a little bit. And the dad tells her to go
take a rest.
Go rest. So basically, like, I'm picturing it as every time he says you need a rest is them closing off their consciousness so one conscious could fight back the other consciousness. Because it's revealed that a little part of them are still in the body, the conscious.
Mm-hmm. And with that, that's when it leads to the conversation about Obama.
That was before, but
no, actually, I think it was after because they were still outside.
No, it was before.
Really?
Yeah, because they were still in the middle of doing the tour.
Oh, yeah. That conversation was kind of wild, too, because it's like, why did you bring it up? Like, there wasn't really much of a reason to bring up the whole, white household, black workers kind of thing, but obviously that obviously screams red flag to me personally, because it's like, why would you bring that up when if you notice it, you don't say it? I will notice things like that, and I won't say anything unless someone else brings it up.
Yeah.
Because it's like, baby, I don't have to be reminded of this shit.
Well, like, I feel like bringing it up just to bring it up as far as like, yeah, I know it looks bad is one thing. But to sit there and bring it up and say, yeah, I know it looks bad. Oh, by the way, I would vote for Obama a third term if I could. That just screams, dude, no, stop.
It screams try hard. It screams, racist. It screams, you're trying to be one of those, the quote unquote good whites or whatever the frack. So, yeah, it kind of goes into the party. It goes into the party situation, and then from there,
and Georgina leaves, takes a rest, yada yada yada, and then we just have the night. Chris and Rose, Rose is apologizing for the way the family is acting
with her whiteness.
With her whiteness, the brother shows up. That's it. The brother shows up before they go to bed. The brother shows up, and we get his overly aggressive bitch ass.
The dinner scene, and I thought he was gonna be, the way that it comes off. It makes him seem to be the problem.
Yeah,
like he comes off as like, oh, he's the black sheep of the family. He's the problem child. He's basically gonna be the main antagonist of the movie. That's what that scene kind of gave, like, at first glance. But looking at it now, is like you can see the mom trying to like steer the conversation and trying to control the narrative very easily, but yet he keeps going. Especially when he brings up, that was the kind of the first slip when he brings up the scientific terms for Chris's body and tried to bring up the sport makeup. His genetic makeup, whole sports aspect of it, trying to equate black folks to barbarians, as they say, and trying to just use that, oh, we're bigger, we're thicker, we're faster, all that kind of stuff, in a way where it almost justifies the coming events. It's like them trying to justify what they do and the events that happen after. And as you can tell, this has been a whole family affair for a long time. So yeah, I
do appreciate, again, Jordan Peele setting up when I can't even think of his name, but Dickbag.
Whenever he's doing the trying to like
when he talks about jiu-jitsu.
Oh, judo.
When he sits there and talks about jiu-jitsu being a mind game where you need to be several steps ahead of your opponent, that's exactly what fucking Chris does at the end of the movie.
He basically tries to outsmart everyone, and he actually does it, even though, ouch.
Yeah, but I mean, he does. Every little thing that he does, he's thinking ahead of while they're still, in their little we can take him kind of thing. And we have these steps, we can take him, while he's sitting there, I know what steps you have, and I'm going to beat you.
Chess.
And so I like that little setup that Jordan Peele did. Another little setup that I like that we kind of glossed over was when bringing up the fact that Chris smokes.
God, this
he taps his hand.
Much anxiety.
He shakes his hand a lot. Whenever he gets nervous, or whenever whenever he gets nervous or whenever he gets anxious, he shakes his hand, which is a normal tick. I mean, for me, I jiggle my legs. Whenever I get nervous, my legs jiggle. So it's a normal thing, but that comes up later when, it's good. This movie's really good with setting things up.
And, with the whole thing about Chris, and the dad talking about how he used to smoke, and then the next moment it's like, oh, cigarettes make me want to vomit. So like, great foreshadowing.
So after the dinner scene, Rose apologizes for essentially her family being racist. And they have a cute little moment. I say cute. I hate that bitch so much.
Okay, let me be real though. Let's talk tea. Low key, they had some good chemistry going.
They really did.
That was some pretty good chemistry that they had going, despite all of the I won't say it's awkward.
Besides her being a fake ass bitch.
Yeah, no, with the fakeness aside, like the way that she acted towards him that did feel real for a good little bit of time, and like it felt real up until the switch. And Daniel Kaluuya and Allison Williams, they had some pretty good chemistry there. So I was like, I applaud them for the romantic aspect of it, even though we all know it is bullshit.
What's even sadder is you can see how much he loves her, or how much he really is into her. Because, like, honestly, even though, like, I've never experienced anything that Chris has gone through, or even you have gone through, I will never know what that's like. Just going through what he went through, or even seeing, someone go through what that family was doing to him, I'd feel uncomfortable and want to fucking leave. For him to sit there and go, no, I'm staying, I love you, I'm here for you, fuck your family, I don't even give a shit, but I'm doing this for you. For him to do that, he really fucking cares about this girl.
And yeah, that it breaks my heart, because it's like, it really emotionally like, if I have to go through all of this stuff, I will be emotionally like distraught for a while.
Mm-hmm.
And on top of that, like having to deal with the legal aspects of everything and the impending backlash and bullshit that will happen as a result of all of this.
Well, who's gonna know? He never gave his ID.
That's the thing. Who knows? But at the same time, it's like, oh, there's a lot of shit. Plus, fingerprints and all that too.
No, the house burnt.
Oh yeah, you're
right. The house caught on fire. So literally, they're just gonna. So Chris got away. Headcanon. Chris got away scot-free.
I hope.
Honestly,
I hope
his
so.
His best buddy Rod can sit there and lie and be like, "Yeah, no, he was with me all weekend."
I can
the
vouch
alibi
for that.
Evidence is destroyed. Chris is good, man. I'm telling you.
Oh yeah, okay. I'm. That makes me a little bit happier on the inside, even though it is left ambiguous. But I think with that, it's just kind of it still makes me uncomfortable. But it's just like I do like their on-screen romance, and I think it works out. It works. Like I felt something about it. So
we also get the night scene, which
was wild.
Yeah, you get Chris can't go to sleep because obviously for reasons. He goes outside to smoke a cigarette.
And before then, also the him replaying the memories of the Deer 2.
Oh yeah, he did do that.
And then for some reason a mosquito bite or whatever.
Mosquito.
Whatever.
I would say mosquito. I'm gonna say mosquito. Sounding,
yeah. So yeah, he goes outside and my God,
you get the iconic get out run.
That was one of the jump scares that got me. That one kind of got me.
Less of a jump scare, more of just like an intense moment. But yeah, it was fun. I laughed. I thought it was great.
I liked it too. That was great. And it's just like it comes almost out of nowhere, which a lot of things you can say just kind of come from nowhere, or it sets up wonderfully. And after that,
here's something I didn't think about until this viewing. The Walter was exercising at night. Georgina was hanging out, just doing stuff. But they were both awake at night. Basically meaning that like they're exhausting those bodies, but the consciousness, because it's a different consciousness working, they're working overtime. They don't need to rest. They're overworking the body, but they don't give a shit because it's not their body they're overworking.
Oh my God.
It gives a whole new feeling towards that scene.
Oh my God.
Yeah. I didn't think about that until, because really the only time they need to rest is after moments of the original consciousness relapsing. Other than that, at night, Homeboy is doing yard work constantly, running a mile at night. Georgina is constantly cooking, constantly serving, constantly cleaning, constantly up and awake.
And aware.
Ugh.
Fuck.
Yeah.
Oh.
That's why I wanted to bring that up. It popped in my head. I was like, yeah, I need to think about that.
And then right after that, we get the iconic scene with the therapy, with the impromptu and unwarranted, unprovoked therapy session.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I do not want to. I don't like, mind games being played, especially when you know that they're trying to play you. And so this scene made it everything. Oh, like I was heightened. My experiences were heightened during this scene because like I do not like this shit either.
Yeah.
Especially without consent.
There's not a whole. I've seen some pretty gruesome things in horror movies. This not being gruesome whatsoever is one of the few things that truly makes my skin crawl every time I watch it.
Mm-hmm.
Just the whole experience. And Daniel Kaluuya's acting, my God, dude.
That scene right there is a scene that makes him worthy of being one of the front runners right now. That scene on right now.
Him recalling the moments leading to his mother's death and
the information feeling like it's kind of forced out of him too.
Yeah, because the whole time he's speaking, you can see the hesitation, the stuttering before it comes out, and just red-eyed tearing up. I mean, literally crying without actually crying. It's almost like, it reminds me of like what happened to Georgina later on in the movie, where
all
he's
of the tears
crying because he himself doesn't want to experience this, yet it's being forced. Oh,
and
so
forced trauma, like having to relive trauma forcibly, and then her basically not only getting that information out, but introducing the concept of the sunken place due to her hypnosis.
Which, that was beautiful. That was creepy. I would never want that to happen to me, but God, that was a gorgeous shot.
Oh yeah, that was one of the most iconic scenes in the whole doggone movie. For that reason alone. Honestly, that whole scene is just iconic and belongs in the National Registry of Film. I don't care. It belongs in the National Registry for its iconicness alone. Like, those two actors deserve all of the awards for those scenes, even though it makes me hate one of them. Like, I think they deserve. This was an award-winning scene alone.
Yeah, I mean, you're doing a good job when you're paid to make people hate you, and people hate you.
Mm-hmm.
So,
and on top of
good
that,
acting all across the board.
And I'm gonna give it to the editing too, because the visual concept of being in a sunken place, like physically feeling like you're going down, and like it's almost like you're drowning and you can't swim back up, and like you're just being weighed down by your own conscience. Mm-hmm. That was crazy, and I loved every single minute of it. And then even better is once it cuts up to bam, him waking up.
Oh yeah,
and as if it was a dream. And also he's being called crazy because of the fact that, like, oh, you didn't get that, oh no, you just had a bad dream, kind of stuff like that.
Well, no, really, they never did that.
No, but that's what it came off.
Yeah,
as.
I mean,
that was the vibe. That was a feeling.
He never brought it up. He never mentioned anything to it until later on. Mm-hmm. Until he realizes that he doesn't want to smoke cigarettes anymore. He keeps remembering his situation with his mom and how she died. Mm-hmm. Which, that is so sad. And
it makes you. It kind of like. One of the things that makes you remember things that you don't want to remember is like how certain experiences can have you remember things that you don't want to, and you get. It's like even with like small stuff, like even the beginning of the situation, it does remind you of other situations maybe in your life or in other people's lives that it just basically is like relive trauma, even if it's like not direct.
Yeah,
it's kind of like that.
And to sit there and go your entire life not only thinking that you're the reason your mom died, but now you're constantly reminded of it. God damn, that's got to be torturous.
It has to be.
Because it's revealed that his dad left when he was young, mm-hmm. and that his mom died when he was 11, I think he said.
11. So
and he mentioned that it was done by a drive-by. drive-by shooting.
Hit and run.
Hit and run.
Hit and run. And later on, it goes to show later on how everything happened, which we'll get to later on.
Well, we might as well just say it now because it's not that pivotal of a moment.
Honestly, I felt like it was pivotal of a moment because that trauma dump, as I like to call it, leads up to like the last scene because it leads up in a way where it's like it pushes the plot forward in order to get to that last scene.
Not really. I guess it can wait, but it really doesn't because all he does is reveal it, and then Rose is like, "Okay, we'll leave together." And he was already planning on leaving.
And them trying to leave together, does lead to the climax of the film.
Yeah, but that has nothing to do with him trauma dumping. It has not. It doesn't have anything to. It's just.
It is an emotional moment though because it's like, because even with everything leading up and having to basically relive all of that, and then once we get to the party, which, you know, everyone's like asking him about certain things, especially like, or feeling his body and all of that. All eyes are on him.
That was just...
Everybody's just asking about, how's it like being black? Does it make you feel advantaged? There's a theory about the one Asian guy that's there amongst all of the whites. God. So basically, it plays into the model minority myth and how a lot of Asians, especially like if they're more lighter skinned Asians, will play into white supremacy in order for them not to get attacked, even though a lot of times it doesn't fucking work. But that was why that one Japanese guy was in there.
That was just that whole scene,
that whole sequence,
because they're asking invasive questions. And they're all asking different things. Like the woman is asking, basically talking to Rose, and it's like, "Hey, how's the sex? Is it true that they're, down there, filling up his muscles, and her husband's in a wheelchair?"
And talking about how black is in fashion.
Yeah, like he wants to be cooler. Like the fat white guy wants to be cooler. Then you have other moments where like another guy just wants to be able to golf again and keeps asking Chris to like, "Show me your swing. Have you ever golfed before?" Yeah.
And knowing that it's like, he's barely golfed. I'm like, even then I'm like, okay, that's weird.
But it's literally like going to a car show or going to a dealership and asking all these questions about a car before you buy it. And it's
except the car is a black person.
Ugh.
And I really do like the scene where, like, after all of that, especially with, like, when he kind of, leaves Rose, because obviously he was uncomfortable, not I won't say being around her, but them in front of her, like, being uncomfortable. It's like, and she's all like, "Oh, okay." And then taking pictures and seeing the different couples.
Yeah, she's basically not forcing, but taking him to introduce him to people. Because again, she's part of the family, even though she's acting nice at this moment.
And she kind of has to do that because of the way that things have always been. Yeah.
Well, it's her job. She has to have the other couples meet Chris and see if they want to purchase him. I know. But yeah, so he's finally like, "I'm done. I just need to get away from all of this."
And this is also another one of my favorite scenes where it gives you a rear window moment where you see through what he sees through the viewfinder of the camera of all of the different kinds of couples that he was just introduced to, and like how they kind of go normally. Even with the dad kind of trying to introduce him to more people by like signaling him over. But, he doesn't really, like, respond to that. And this is when he goes to see, oh, my God, a black person.
Yeah, other than Walter and Georgina.
A black person here. So that feeling of course, I like being around my own people, or I can feel a little bit more comfortable when I'm around my own people. And, like, in a vacuum, that shit sounds weird as fuck. In a vacuum, it's like, okay, you want to be around your own people, but it's also like in a vacuum, without taking everything into context, it's like, why would you say that? But when it comes to obvious context like this, and most societal context, it's like, hell yeah, if I'm black and I'm around a whole bunch of white folks, of course I'm gonna feel like weird, even if I don't, especially if I don't really know any of them. And I would love to be like, okay, I see my own people here. Maybe I can spark up a conversation. Maybe they can understand what I'm feeling. Kind of stuff like that.
Well, it's also, I mean, you can even take it where, okay, for example, just average bullshit. When I was a kid in high school, went to a drama thing. All of them were goody two shoes, never did anything bad. And I was so awkward until I realized that another person who was a quiet person that never talked also smoked pot. I was like, oh, thank God I have someone I can talk to this entire trip. So even going with that, it's nice to have someone that understands or you can relate to rather than a bunch of people you don't socially or, any kind of relate to. So yeah, he was just happy to have someone to talk to.
Yeah, I mean, your situation is similar. Not the
well, no, it's not. It's not similar in any
same,
way. I was just saying,
but I get it.
It's basically like taking the racial undertones of it out and just having
and replacing it with societal tones. I get it.
Yeah, but it's not any. It's just something I can personally relate to because I can't personally relate to what you're.
Yeah. So it's deep. So basically, he meets up with this dude. His name is Lewis. I want to say, was it Lewis?
I think it was Lewis.
Lewis King. That's it.
Yeah.
Lewis King, and obviously, there's something off about old boy because we know Chris doesn't know, but we know that is this old dude that was introduced earlier in the very beginning of the film that gets abducted, and he pops up in it, and the audience is like, what the fuck? And Chris is like, oh my God, I'm a brother. And you can tell the obvious differences in and the way they interact with, him having what they call the white voice. Jordan Peele called it the white voice, and having the the proper mannerisms, like you cheerio kind of shit.
Well, it's old school way of speaking because even Walter and Georgina have that way where they don't understand modern slang. They don't understand. They say old world vocabulary. So old white
quote
people,
unquote proper vocabulary.
Well, I wouldn't say proper. Fuck that.
Quote unquote. Most white people say it proper or whatever.
Fuck white people.
So basically he goes into thank God I see someone who who's kind of understands. I was like, because I get uncomfortable being around here. And then his wife, this cougar of a woman, mind you, was all like, hey, oh yeah, so and so was like, I gotta see this, and then he's all like, oh yeah, this is Chris, by the way. Yeah, this is Chris. He was taken to I was like, oh yeah. He was saying how much he feels more comfortable around me being here with my company. And I was like, oh, this is bad. This is bad because that can be used as literal ammo too. Mm-hmm. So he's all like, yeah, okay, whatever. And that's where he was all like, what the fuck is going on? This is some really weird shit. So I know he walks around, tries to take more pictures.
Well, before that, I like the scene where he goes to basically to me, it feels like he's confirming something weird is going on. Where he goes to dap him, and homeboy's just
covers his hands and
goes for a handshake.
Mm-hmm. That part of the scene was very pivotal and yet so minute.
Yeah, because that's where Chris basically leaves to go call Rod because he's like, okay, something's weird.
Oh yeah, no, I like this a lot. Wait a minute, no, does he go back outside?
He goes back outside because that's when he talks to the art dealer.
Okay, yeah.
But
so
he's like, yeah, no, this is fucking weird. I need to call Rod.
Mm-hmm.
And then he finds out his phone has been unplugged.
Oh my God. That scene was wildin'.
Which he woke up in the morning, found out it was unplugged, plugged it back in.
Mm-hmm. So
and
he
then
knows.
He found it unplugged again. And he's like, okay, that's weird.
But let's talk about the fact that conversation, is bussin'. And then the minute Chris goes upstairs, silence. And they all look up and just focus on the footsteps as he goes up the stairs to get his now dead phone. And
such a creepy moment.
Right?
Ugh.
And with that, Oh yeah, that's when Rose comes back in. It was all like, "Bitch, what the fuck? You left me."
Well, he talks to Rod first, and what I love.
Wait, no, yeah, I'm sorry.
He talks to Rod after he gets
sorry.
his phone plugged in, and
I think he sent a text. No, he did call. He did call.
Well, no, he texted and then Rod called.
Yeah.
Something like that. Anyway, he talks to Rod, and Rod is the most sensible person up to a certain point. So, like, he nails everything to a T. He talks about, oh, shit, you got hypnotized? You don't need to be doing that shit, man, because I guarantee you what they're doing is they're hypnotizing black people and turn them into sex slaves. And he's so hung up on the sex slave part. Like, he's so right. But wrong at the same time.
I was like, how do you nail it and then fall off?
I love that.
So with that, goes back outside, talks to the arts dealer. Was it Hudson? Hudson of Hudson Galleries. And I'm like, okay, cool. Someone who kind of understands Chris a little bit, because, you know, he's an art dealer.
He's blind.
A blind art dealer, and Chris is a photographer. And he's
actually appraised some of his work.
So I was like, okay, this is another pin right there. Like that's really cool.
It's like the first time Chris has been able to feel genuine in a conversation
to
this
kind
entire
of relax.
Weekend. Other than when he's talking to Rose, he genuinely feels like he's comfortable talking to this guy.
Do you think a lot of it has to do with the fact that he's blind and therefore doesn't really see him? But he knows that he's there, but he doesn't physically see him. So you think that kind of adds on to that? Oh, I can kind of feel genuine because he doesn't really actually see me, but he feels me.
I mean, honestly, you could probably take it into that context. I genuinely don't think so, because he knows who Chris is. He knows of his work. Therefore, he has to know that Chris is a black man. I think it's more along the lines of Chris admires him because he is such a renowned art dealer. You know, obviously Chris has submitted his stuff towards him. And I just feel like from a similar profession, this guy isn't talking to me like I'm black. He's just talking to me like, I'm Chris. I'm the artist, Chris. I feel like Chris is just more comfortable in this conversation, which makes the ending a little sadder.
Yeah, and I get that, and I was like, dang, I was rooting for your ass too.
Right.
And I shouldn't have been. Why? Who knows? But I fell right into that trap. So, yes, this leads into...
I want to say it's the Georgina scene after that.
Yeah, whenever he goes back.
She comes to apologize for unplugging the phone because Rose said something to her.
Oh, yeah, because Rose was all like, what is going on here? And no, I just realized something. There was a point I think we glossed over with Walter.
We did, but again,
did it? I don't know. It was like that.
All it does is confirm that Grandpa's in Walter. Because there's a moment where he talks to Walter. Walter's talking weird again, old world white vocabulary, and he brings up to Rose that I think Walter, is jealous.
Or that's what I was like, is into you, and it's like, and I think that's part of why she was like really grossed out by that, probably. Because that's my fucking grandpa. The fuck you mean?
I mean, it happened, but it wasn't hugely important, I guess.
I just noticed it after we mentioned Georgina.
Yeah.
So another iconic
We're
scene.
already an hour and 8 minutes.
Oh, of course it's gonna be.
It's gonna be a long
one because it's Get Out. Of course, there's gonna be a lot to talk about. So
Georgina comes in, and I love this scene.
Iconic.
She acted her ass off.
Iconic. And she over explains why the phone was unplugged, and man, I think it's also because once you figure out what's going on, the obvious and all of that, I'm like, oh, that was intentional, because that's out to the outside world. That's the only connection to the outside world anyone really has, if you want to be real. So I'm like, okay, I see what you're trying to do there, man, Miss Mamas. And that tear.
What gets me, I don't know how it came up, but there came a moment where she's in the middle of talking and she shuts down, and you hear like a shudder, like her actual voice, actual whoever Georgina actually was, almost try to speak. Tears rolling down her face, a weird little cackle, and then you hear no. I mean, repeat it. No. And then finally, she finishes her sentence, her conversation with Chris, and walks off. And it was so beautifully acted because you can genuinely see the consciousness fighting one another. God, she did that shit.
Okay, let's give her her flowers. Like, let's give Ms. Mamas her flowers because she did that shit.
Great.
And so we would like to give flowers to Miss. Help me
Betty
here.
Gabriel? Betty Gabriel.
Baby, she did that. She did that.
Yeah, she did. What all has she been in? Oh, she was in Upgrade.
Come
in the
on.
Purge election year.
Come on, Miss Betty Gabriel. Yep, I remember her because she was also in Defending Jacob, which is actually one of my favorite series of that year because that was a very, very, very good show. You should totally watch it. But I mainly watched it because I was a huge fan of Chris Evans, but that goes without saying. But
she fucking did that shit though. That was so good,
iconic, of course. And that part leads to
Chris and Rose walking off into the woods while
the
white family played bingo.
But it was also that part where that part that we can't
skip over that.
We can't gloss over that.
He gets his phone after it's been charging for a minute.
He goes back down, and he gets bombarded with all of these questions, all everything. And
going to what Jay was talking about with the Asian man.
Saying, that was that.
Yeah, he was after. He was like, how has your experience been as a black man in America?
Has it been advantages or has it been disadvantages? And from the cut, it's like, I'm not answering that question.
Yeah, fuck
at
you.
All.
First off.
And so he's like, goes to the other black person in there, is like, I can't do this. You can you do this?
Yeah, man. Basically, I feel like because he's already got his phone, he wants to take a picture because he feels like he knows this person. So he's basically like, hey, I feel like something weird's going on between Walter, between Georgina, between the fucking hypnotism that the mom put me through. There's something weird. I want you to give an answer. And of course, he gives the most generic answer of all time. I think literally all he says is, well, for my experience...
my experience is okay.
It's been pretty good so far. And he says so far.
So far.
Yeah.
And I'm like,
motherfucker. And Chris takes a picture, but he forgets that he left the flash on. But that actually comes to an advantage because that snaps Dre back to controlling the body.
Another iconic scene where you just see the nosebleed that brings him back to normal, and he's all like, "Get out, get out."
Yeah, out! Because it's revealed that when you're in the sucking place, you still see what's going on. It's almost like a TV in front of you, and you see what's going on. So Dre knows, again, fucking with their mind, keeping them up all night and shit, that everything that's going on, so he knows exactly what is about to happen to Chris. And he's like, man, I'm fucked, but I need to get you out of here. And he tried.
He tries to leave himself, but they catch him. And that leads into the scene where, she, quote unquote, fixes him. Or tries to, heal him.
Puts him through a session, which basically sends him back to the sunken place. And the father, who is a neurosurgeon, says that the flash from the phone activated a seizure. And that's all that was. And Chris calls bullshit. Him and Rose take a little walk to the woods, and he is going to let out his suspicions, his frustration, everything. He's just going to let it all out.
Yeah, no, that wasn't a seizure. And Rose is like, What you mean?
My
My dad's a
dad's-
neurosurgeon. Why would you question him?
Yeah, my dad said it was a seizure, so it gotta be a seizure. I mean, come on, Chris.
Come on.
Fucking bitch.
Ugh.
Look, and that's when we get the reveal, the trauma of
Oh,
really what happened to his mom, and it's so fucking sad.
and it's also the fact that it also brings into the ineptness of the police system, the multiple levels of ineptness of the police, of the justice system, especially when it comes to the police, because it's like, while if you call 911, why wouldn't you try to find a search for somebody, especially if they are missing? And honestly, it's a fucking hit and run. It's a crash.
But no one called 911. That was the thing.
Oh, because you're right.
Chris
because
never called.
Chris never called because he
That's-
didn't know what was going on because he was 11. He was a kid watching TV.
Well, no, he even said it himself. He thought it was weird that his mom never showed up,
Mm-hmm.
but he never did anything.
And
He just sat there and watched TV,
But-
and he found out later that his mom didn't die from the initial hit. That she didn't die until later that morning.
that she bled out.
So
But you know what
ooh.
though? While as fucked up as that is, it's like, I think it's because it's like, I know how most kids are, especially at 11, and especially if he was probably like sheltered, I don't know. But if you're like think it's like, okay, it's weird. He probably didn't have a cell phone, and that was probably maybe a landline. But like, would you really think at 11 years old to like actively try to call 911 or try to call somebody to be like, hey, where's mom? And
If it's late at night and she's supposed to be home, yes.
true, but
Especially at 11,
but
when you're by
kids,
yourself.
I feel like a lot of kids don't. Still, I feel like a lot of kids don't really get that, or a lot of kids aren't really taught that until later.
No. I mean, I can see in his situation where calling the police would probably be the last thing you want to do.
Yeah,
but
I'm not trying to defend
he,
it.
Even he said himself that the whole reason he didn't call is because if he called, that means it was real. Like, he even said it himself, like, that's the whole reason he just sat there and watched TV is because he didn't want it to be real. He knew that if he called 911 or called for help, that truly something happened to his mom, and he just wanted to ignore it. So that's where the trauma is. That's where, like, he truly blames himself for his mom's death.
That I can't even fake. That does make a lot of sense.
So it just...
It still just really fucking sucks, though.
Oh, God, yeah,
and
no.
I feel like that's why I'm trying to fiercely defend him, because it's like, because that amount of trauma and having to deal with that amount of responsibility
And
at
to be
11,
and then to be constantly reminded of that after the hypnosis session.
that is a lot of trauma to deal with, and he shouldn't have to basically make it like it's his fault. There's only so much he can do. And granted, if he was aware that something was wrong, but like the magnitude of what could have been wrong, I don't think any child would have thought the worst. And
No.
I wouldn't want to think the worst, because your parents are invincible. They can go through anything. They can do it all, unless they prove that they weren't really that well off anyway, towards you. And then it's like, okay, whatever. But like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that kind of that's the part that gets me, and I just feel for him, and I can't underestimate how children think, how children react, but it's also like I'm not gonna say I probably would have done the same thing, but I can empathize with the fact that he's done that because of that childhood innocence and that loss of childhood innocence right there.
Yeah, because from that point on, it's him. No dad, no mom. He is by himself. In
Exactly. So I'm like, I get it. I completely get it.
But yeah, that's where he's like, after all of this, after that whole hypnosis session, that's all he can think about.
Mm-hmm.
Other than the fact that when he thinks about wanting a cigarette, it makes him want to puke. But he keeps bringing up that memory of his mom. And it's just, I wouldn't want that.
And it also just made me realize that the reason that she didn't want him smoking is because of how, the whole genetic makeup body thing. You want it to be healthy so you can, take all of the body parts.
Yeah.
I think that thinking about it now, that's really ugly and messed up. Ew.
Yeah, you quote unquote don't want to damage the product.
Ugh.
Anyway. While all this is going on, the
Bingo
party is playing bingo auction. We're just gonna call it like it is. It's an auction to buy a person,
and to the highest bidder, which turns out to be none other than Hudson,
Mr. Hudson, the art dealer,
the blind art dealer,
and yeah,
Gross.
Crit, yeah. So I don't even know what happens at the. Oh no! They agreed to leave. Rose agrees to go with Chris, and they're upstairs packing. God. Well, in the middle of packing, Chris decides that he knows Dre. Like, he knows he's recognized this guy. So he sends it to Rod, and Rod immediately calls him and is like, "Hey, yeah, that's Dre. That's Dre. You know him. That's old girl's brother, cousin that works
also
at the movies."
Goes to like the black proverb is like, you're always 6 degrees separation from somebody, because we if you want to be real, especially in a place where you know that not that many black folks are
mm-hmm.
It's like you gonna know that like somebody or like be close to somebody, you're gonna recognize them. So I'm like, I get it. And another comedic moment from Lil Rel, because he's the best person in the goddamn movie.
He's so good.
And also after that, while packing, it goes to some more reveals, some big reveals that
Juicy
been
reveals.
Juicy. So he basically finds a little cupboard, been open the whole time, but no one's going in. He goes in to see this little red box, opens it, pictures. You start out with pictures of her growing up, yada yada yada, keepsakes, and then it starts to go to all of the black people that she's dated, that she's been with, the pictures 1, 2, 3, 4, and then you stop on Walter.
Mm-hmm. And after Walter,
Georgina. And I'm like, oh my God. First of all, it confirms all the suspicions that, they're probably into her. In fact, that they were. She lured him in. They dated before coming over here and getting abducted. And on top of that, Lil Rel does his thing. Rod does his thing and does his little research and finds out, oh crap, old boy's been missing. Does that jazz musician, what's his name? Andre something.
But yeah,
Andre been missing
for 6 months.
Mm-hmm. And that's wild.
Basically, Chris had his suspicions. Rod basically confirmed that those suspicions are, reliable. Like, yeah, no, dude, you need to get the hell out of there.
Mm-hmm.
And then he gets, just the actual confirmation that.
The part that killed, that was the funny part. I'm glad that kind of broke the tension a little bit. Whenever Rod went over to the freaking police station.
Oh, that's afterwards. Hang on.
I know, but it broke the tension, and
But we still have the tense moment, because I love the look on his face once Rose is actually revealed, because it's so heartbreaking. So finally, he knows Rose. He knows the whole family's in on it, including Rose. But he's still like, okay, we need to get out of here. Do you have the keys? Of course, Rose is like, oh, let me see if I can find him. Okay, you know what? We'll find him on the go. Let's get going. He gets downstairs. Brother Dickhead is blocking the door. Mom's blocking the exit out that way. He starts getting backed into a corner thanks to Brother Dickhead. And the father asks him this stupid-ass fucking question, what is your purpose?
And, like, honestly, that part is so weird, because it's like, you're just like, why would somebody ask me that?
And then Rose comes down the stairs, gets about halfway down, and Chris is like, you really need to find those keys right here, right now.
And oh my God, that part when he's screaming at her, but then he tries to he has to reel it back in, but then it's like, fuck it. And that got me, because it's like, you don't want to show any kind of you still feel like you have to show restraint, whenever you're in a ride or die situation like that. And it's like, ooh, that got me. So with that, it leads into the first little bit of violence and the fight between old boy.
Well, no.
Before
that, finally Rose.
That's the witch.
No, what gets me is when she reveals, she's like, he's like, where the fuck are the keys, Rose? I can't give you those keys, babe, right?
I was like,
the look, his face drops along with his bags. Because what's sad to me is watching this, even though he just got confirmation that Rose is doing all this shit, that she's been with all the guys, including Walter and Georgina, I feel like he still cared.
No, that was the defeat. That
was the utter defeat. That's when he was like, there might still be a chance I can get out of this, and maybe Rose was forced into it. I don't know what logic he was going through, but dude, when she is finally revealed and you see the utter defeat on his face, it really got me.
That should hurt.
Oh,
that it really hurts because of the fact that, like, dang, I really cared about you and you really turned on me. You really, really turned on me and you were just using me. That fucks me up, man. That, I'm not gonna lie, that part fucked me up. And if you want to be real, I know this is fiction, but like the way that this movie made me not trust white people for a while, I was like, yeah, no, high alert. And I knew, knowing I'm a filmmaker, it's like, this is fiction. I know this is real, but it felt too real. And God, it messed me up. That messed me up a lot emotionally. I was like, yeah, no, this is not it. And then the fight happens. Try to tussle and all that, and then bam.
The mom knocks him out with her little hypnosis trick with the teacup.
Right into the sunken place. That fucking teacup.
And they drag him down to the basement.
Adding insult to injury, he drops them. Adding insult to injury.
I know I shouldn't have laughed at that part, but that part did make me laugh.
And then the fact that
she's like, you already did too much damage to him, and he's like, don't worry, Mom, I got the. Oh, okay, that's.
And then
bad.
the fact that he reacted, is like, the fact that even though he was in a sunken place, he still reacted to that. I was like, oh my God.
But then you get Chris, or not Chris, Rod.
God, I'm glad that that scene was expertly placed, because tension.
Yeah, tension the whole movie, and then you get this reveal where it's just like Chris is defeated. This really was a nice levity moment.
Mm-hmm. And then you get Rod being the best friend he could be, trying to file a missing persons report.
The best TSA agent he is.
And I gotta give some respect to my girl Erica Alexander, but girl, that scene killed me, because I'm like, I love Erica Alexander as an actress. She's an amazing comedic actress, but fuck, that scene did not do anything like except for make me hate you. I'm like, make me hate this character. I'm like,
what I liked was Rod coming in, and she walks in and she's like, okay, what's going on? Okay, my buddy Chris went off with his girlfriend.
Oh, your son.
My boy Chris went off with his girlfriend and has been missing for a couple of days. Really? Okay, your son's been missing? No, my friend. Really? Your friend's been missing with his girlfriend for a couple of days? Yeah, but he went, his girlfriend's white, and he went to go see her family. Okay, all right. Now I'll take you serious. But it's like, I'll take you serious again now.
But the thing about it is, like, even then, it wasn't even taken seriously, because, like, it's like, okay, it's a missing persons case, but it's like, bro, but it's also like, okay, what is this going on? It's like, oh, went from, like, drunken night to be even more so. And I'm like, the more he explained it, as ridiculous as it was, and, like, you can tell that he was dead ass about it. And then when she brought in the other two officers, I was like,
see, that's the problem. Is he over-explained. That was his problem. If he could have just been like, look, my friend's been missing for a couple of days. He went off with his girlfriend to her family's house and has been missing. If he probably would have just left it at that, she would have been like, okay, we'll send a patrol car. At least something.
Maybe, like, the fact that he is a way that we knew that he acted that kind of like made it almost make you lose credibility. Especially like the fact that she repeated the fact that he was from the TSA, which goes to show about the lack of respect.
Basically got the same training you have.
Like basically got the lack of respect from the TSA agents and the police officers. Like y'all, dang, not the TSA agent having more detective skills than the actual police officer and the actual detective. I'm like, bro.
I wouldn't say skills, but he cared enough to look into it. They didn't take him serious. But at the same time, you're sitting there telling me that you're afraid your friend has been brainwashed. Even though it's all true, your friend has been brainwashed and turned into a sex slave.
Okay, yeah, that's where like, okay, you're obviously on crack.
It sounds like the plot of a movie, just being honest.
Yeah, it does.
So I can see where both sides are coming from. And he over-explained way too much. He should have just been like, my friend's missing.
I feel like that's been his whole thing, though. The fact that he brought his...
He brought the dog. I've been house sitting Sid. This is Sid.
Oh, hey, Sid. And I was like, bro, this is that shit was funny. I like that shit a lot.
So, but after he gets no help from the police, he does a little research and confirms that yes, that was Dre and some fuck shit's happening, and I need to call my friend. So he tries to call Chris again, which he hasn't been able to answer this entire time, but this last time someone did answer, but it ain't Chris. No, it's fucking Rose. And she reveals that she is a lizard person.
Oh yeah. So it starts out as her when her master manipulated self. That when you see her, nothing but white turtleneck, hair all the way back, like Miss Prim and Proper herself. Okay, and she's all like
blank expression, almost like a fucking robot. But when she's on the phone, she's acting like
that.
That was good acting too.
She can go into voice acting from that alone.
Because she did. She was fucking all range of emotions, yet cold, just stone face. Fucking lizard person.
So, like, yeah, it goes into that. And then, like, oh, yeah, reveal. She tried to lie and say Chris has been gone, already left, and all of that.
And he's like, yeah, no, this is bullshit. Hang on 1 second. Mutes her, and he's like, fucking liar. Lying bitch.
Oh, yeah, because of the, because it's like, honestly, the best way to going is like, oh yeah, I would ask that their cab question too because it's New York. You know cabs in New York. And it's like, oh, I thought she was about to crack because she was all like, oh, maybe she took an Uber. Oh my god, I'm so confused. Bitch, I'm confused too. The fuck?
Right? So he puts her on mute, gets a recording out, gets ready, and then puts her on speaker and is like, okay, so another question. Rod, just stop. I know you want me.
And just tried to be like, wait, you're trying to turn this into me. I'm like, oh, I'm trying to seduce you. It's like, oh, you're trying to fuck me. And it's like, oh, she went that route.
The subject, and he just hangs up on her. He's like, that fucking intelligent genius, that bitch.
That shit was wild. Like, oh, she knew what was up.
She honestly, for her role in the family, she's too good. She is too good of a manipulator.
Ugh. And then it cuts to one of the most other equally iconic scenes with that little room.
That Chris is revealed to be in.
That room with the deer, with the play sets, with all of those expertly placed things and the deer. Oh, so I think it's probably a good time to bring up the deer theory right quick.
Okay, so I knew something was up with the deer, and I wanted it explained. I've never had it explained. I just had this little theory. So there's a moment where the dad talks about, how he's sick of the deer, how he just wants them, gone. He hates the deer, wants them eradicated, yada, yada, yada. And then
weird, right?
Right? And then you have the moment with the son abducting Dre in the beginning where it's got the song, Run, Rabbit, Run. And it reminded me of like Hunter, Prey. That's what it reminds me of. I think the symbolism of the deer is a quote unquote lower species that humans are above, and the hunters, the family, hunt them as prey, want to eradicate them or whatever, and they show no emotions towards it, like Rose, who was more worried about her possession, her vehicle, where Chris was more worried about the deer, the living thing. So they see it as a trophy to be displayed, like the head of the deer, where Chris saw it as a living creature, like it is.
Let's add on to that. So what if I say that the deer, like everything with the deer kind of relates to the incident with Chris's mom? The way that, you kind of get caught like a deer in the headlights, and you get how deer, being a lower species, gets, just lost out there in the woods and no one cares to see. Chris's mom, no one came to see 911, and it looks like no one actually cared to see that an accident happened, considering that, it's a fucking accident. If you see no one on the scene, you usually stop.
Yeah.
Like, if you see some fucked up shit happening, but no one did. So, therefore, she bled out and was, like, left cold and alone like that deer. So, that's one of the other theories that I've seen be parlayed with the deer.
It makes sense.
And
it makes sense.
I feel like it adds on to your deer being seen as a lesser species for that fact alone, that it parallels with how Chris's trauma and that why he acted that way with the deer, because he saw is like something similar to what happened with his mom. No one gave a shit, and that's why he gave a shit about the deer.
Yeah. I saw it as, especially when they had the deer mounted as like a trophy, basically the same thing they're doing with the bodies, swapping the bodies. They see it as a prized possession. You're owning a new body. Yeah, that's how I saw it.
That's crazy. So this goes into the reveal that, this has been a family affair, and about how it kind of is basically eugenics, right? It's like a form of eugenics in a way, where it's like, you're trying to pick out the most perfect parts of people's bodies, especially Black people's bodies, and put them into the bodies of what you want, and to basically have them live on forever. Upon this viewing, I got major Skeleton Key vibes from this, except instead of souls, is like the brains of the parents being put into, Georgina and Walter. And
a little reversed though, because the couple in Skeleton Key want their original. They want Black people again. They want to be Black people again,
but they couldn't.
But they couldn't. They could only settle with white people, because Black people don't fuck with voodoo shit. Where this is white people actively seeking out Black
bodies.
So okay, yeah, I dig that. I can see that.
And and after that, it goes into, wasn't there like a scene right before it cuts to that too?
You got the moment where he's in the sunken place, or like you got the moment where you get like that infomercial of what's going on.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about, the infomercial. And then was there something after, or was it go straight into?
He goes into the sunken place after that. It does show, again, Jordan Peele being very good at showing, foreshadowing things, is his nervous twitch that he has, even when he's in the sunken place. He's out unconscious, but his hands are constantly moving, scratching the surface of the chair that he's in. Of basically Deus Cotton Ex Machina. For the end.
Oh god, not Cotton Ex Machina. So yeah, with that, he looks at it. That was so great.
Yeah,
I like that.
You get Lizard Person again eating cereal the weirdest fucking way. Who eats She has a bowl with the cereal in one side, a glass of milk with a straw, and she'll pick up one little Fruit Loop, take one teensy little bite, just teensy little bites, and then pick up the glass of milk and take a sip, stop, another sip, stop, another sip, stop. That's how robots act. That's how Zuckerberg acts. That's a lizard person. Rose is a lizard person.
I guess the lizard people also look for Black bodies to, manipulate into, owning, because not her looking at fucking NCAA prospects and seeing as one dude, and I'm like, oh no. Well, she's plotting her next victim.
It shows that she's always on the hunt for the quote unquote best specimen, the best product that she can get. She wants an athlete, a well-bit, or a well-fit person, and it's just it's gross to think that she's looking at all those pictures as if buying a car.
And buying a car, and then seeing the paths, you can say, her own form of deer mounting. Seeing all the pictures that were in the keepsake before being mounted up with
like
her
trophies.
being in the center,
Like trophies.
And that
bitch.
was oof.
That bitch.
So I think that leads into, it starts to lead towards the official thing of what's going on with the
artist.
The artist
art
being
dealer,
live
Hudson.
streamed over. Hudson being live streaming and explaining what's going on.
Yeah, he's like, it helps with the process, or yada, yada, yada. Basically explains, confirms what we've all thought the entire time. Basically, the mom hypnotizes, sends the consciousness down into the sunken place where it stays dormant. After that, the white brain gets taken out, so the art dealer's brain will be taken out, and Chris's brain is going to be taken out, adding the art dealer's brain. So his consciousness is now taking control of all motor functions of the body, where Chris's consciousness is stuck in the sunken place. And it's stuck there because they can't get rid of all of the brain. They still need the connective tissue for the what is it called?
What you mean for like the eyes?
The everything for you to move.
Oh, basically like the
What is that system of your body called?
the nervous system?
Nervous system. They need the part of the brain that controls the nervous system.
So it's like you're still there, but not really there.
Yeah, you
Like-
can't do anything,
Like part of you is that gonna be there, but it's not gonna be you.
which is the worst thing ever, just to sit there and see.
It's like
Just sit there and see what it's basically like what I'm doing right here. I'm just looking at a microphone. But like, I'm not the one talking. I'm not the one moving.
It's
I'm
like-
not the one in control.
it gives possession.
Yeah.
It kind of is like a medical form, a scientific form of possession in a way.
Yeah. I mean, it's basically like those old 70s body swapping horror movies, but with more relevant and topical message behind it.
Mm-hmm. Instead of like body swaps, it's like, oh no, they're literally like, they're Frankensteining you.
Yeah, body takeover.
Mm-hmm.
And
So, yeah.
this is when Chris realizes what he's been doing, tearing away at the cushion or the
Mhm.
arm of the chair, and he gets a little idea in his head right before the teacup is shown, where he's about to go back into the sunken place. And you think he's that happened, he's done for, he's in the sunken place, game over.
And it goes into the surgical aspect of it, the surgery as it happens in their house, which, okay, I get, but at the same time, what the absolute fuck? They have a whole lab
And why the
in their house.
And luckily, it burnt the house down, so I'm kind of okay with it. But why the fuck were there candles in a surgical room?
I feel like
That makes no sense.
It doesn't make any sense. I just felt like it was still an aesthetic choice, basically to parallel the voodoo aspect of it, which medical voodoo is weird. It's basically what it's giving, medical voodoo.
But
it makes no sense in a realistic aspect. It's an aesthetic choice but a dumb aesthetic choice.
But luckily, it was there because it did burn the house down.
Mm-hmm.
So no evidence. Woo.
Candle ex machina. So that surgery happens, and
that surgery was
dickhead.
grody.
I forgot his name. Dickhead goes to
Yeah, it's just
retrieve
'cause fuck that dude.
the body, retrieve Chris, ready to get into everything. He checks the IV.
He
and
unstraps
then-
Chris and checks the ID, but Chris did not get hypnotized this time.
And Dow, the great reveal, comes from behind him, bats his ass with a was it one of those
I want to
tennis
say
balls.
croquet.
One of those croquet balls, which using the white people's weapons against you.
Dude,
'Cause
honestly,
I don't see any black people who actually plays croquet.
I don't other than uppity rich white people, like the people you look at and you go, "Oh, I bet you're racist." I those are the only ones I see play croquet.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah.
So I like that.
The only thing I don't like that Chris did was he should have finished old dickhead right then and there.
See, I agree with that, but I also want to say, it's like, oh, you look dead. You should have done the double tap method.
But
I agree.
See, the bad thing is he did the double tap method, but
And
no,
double tap method didn't work.
that dude's a racist prick. End him. Him.
Oh, living off racism and spite alone. Sounds like a lot of this old generation here. Racism and spite. That goes into it, and like the fathers are like, what's going on
Yeah,
here?
he realizes it's taken
A little bit too long.
Yeah, Dickie Boy to get him a little too long. So he goes to investigate himself.
And bam!
Gets jousted by a deer. Fuck you, dude. Which I do like the fact that he talked about how much he hated deers and his death came by the hand of a deer.
So that was actually
Justice.
pretty cool. And I guess if I go further, signifying what I said earlier about that deer representing his trauma with his mom, it gives a tiny bit of closure to his trauma in a way that's like, oh, you're about to, like, I may not be able to, like, fix everything that happened with my mom, but I'm about to fix this. That's my headcanon.
Yep. He jousted his ass.
Jousted in the name of closure.
And old art dealer, if he ain't dead, he's gonna wake up dead.
Baby, no, that brain is gone.
No, the brain's not gone, just the cap's gone. So, but he's gonna die because he's on anesthetics, and that room did catch on fire.
No, yeah, he's gonna die.
So I kind of hope he wakes up and he feels it at least a little.
Oof. No, I get that though. But this is where all of the blood starts happening. This is where we came for the kills, y'all. Because the kills were magnificent. The kills were brutal. The kills were magnifique, even though we're like a lot of time in. But this movie is just there's so much going on about this movie. Of course it's gonna take a long time to talk about it because there's so many layers of this film. And yes. So,
dude,
all
Chris
that blood
is a beast.
Ding, ding, ding. You know what you just said?
Huh?
Chris is a beast.
He is a beast.
You said, you know what Dickhead said earlier?
Oh, fuck Dickhead. He said it in a racist way. No, he said it in a racist way. I mean, this motherfucker walked up, got stabbed in the hand, and acted like nothing.
Oh, yeah, because he goes down that, man.
See, that was beast mode. Chris was a beast at that moment.
I just don't like the term being used at this current moment of time because of what we talked about earlier.
Fuck Dickhead.
But I get
Fuck
it.
Dickhead. He ruined that.
I get it.
But no, for him to sit there, okay, he goes in, Georgina freaks out, runs away, and the mom tries to get to the teacup, which he breaks that shit.
Oh
says,
yeah,
fuck
goes
you.
down to the front door and all of that. But
she goes to stab him. And when she goes to stab him, he just gets stabbed through the hand, grabs her hand, and just says, not today, fuck you.
And then uses that against her. Bam.
Stabs her in the throat.
Oh, is
Done.
the throat?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I forgot. I was covering myself because I can't do gore like that.
Dude.
So I thought it was the eye.
He stabbed her ass good. And just no emotion, just like... Which, I mean...
They don't deserve emotion at this point.
Well,
they
no,
just deserve a cold kill.
Yeah, because he's been through enough. He's like, you know what? Being stabbed through the hand, that's nothing. Nothing.
Compared to what I've gone through today.
You. Just, so good.
And then, lo and behold, the double tap method failed on us because Dickhead appears from the back.
Old Dickie boy.
And remember that foreshadowing from earlier with the headlock? No. With the sleeper hold? Bam, that sleeper hold tries to take a hold.
No, the jiu-jitsu. That's what the plan, be a couple of steps ahead of your enemy. So Chris goes for the door, and while Homeboy's got him in a sleeper hold, he kicks the door. Chris goes for the door again. He kicks the door again. And the whole time, Homeboy's counting, because I think it takes like 10, 15 seconds in a chokehold before your person passes out. Whatever. But Chris, hesitates for a moment. Then he goes for the door again. Old Dickie boy goes to kick the door. And right as soon as he does that, Chris, with the knife still being in his hand, stabs old boy in the knee. tasty. And then he double tapped him this time. He kicked him in the face.
Oh, that was
stomped
brutal.
him in the face several times.
That was so brutal. Like,
he got the most brutal death, but he deserved it.
And I'm like, not the fresh Timbs.
Oh.
That was only even worse because I was like, oh, those were some fresh looking Timbs, and he had to
Not
use
the
it.
Timberlands.
And he had to use that the curb stunk a bitch. Damn.
Oh, but he deserved it. Though,
Oh,
dude.
yeah, no.
Every scene that guy was in, just I hated every minute. As soon as he walked through the door, as soon as he was introduced, I was like, I don't like you.
And I think that he was I thought he was gonna be a red herring, and so Chris leaves. Chris leaves out the door. Like, you think all is well, and he's like, going to leave out. But like, as he drives off, we get this body comes up on the other side and just gets ran over, and just like, oh, it's Georgina.
Yep, he hits Georgina. And of course, because he got fucking hypnotized, all he can think about is his mom. So he has a guilty conscience, and he's like, fuck, I can't leave her.
Mm-hmm.
So he puts her in the car, unfortunately. At this point, Rose, I think she smells the smoke or like hears something.
Mm-hmm.
I think she heard the when he ran over.
Heard the bump,
Georgina.
and then something was weird, and then she just knew.
Mm-hmm.
I think she just knew, and so she grabbed that faded gun, old grandma's gun, and then says, "Grandpa,
get him." So, but this is after.
But she says "Grandpa" right before it too. So she says it
she
twice.
says grandma.
Grandma.
She says grandma. Or
oh
something.
my god! I just not realized that we said it, but I just not. It's just sunk in.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my god, that's crazy.
But yeah. So he's driving. And Georgina wakes up, which of course is grandma, so she's pissed off that her house is getting burnt down. You destroyed my house! Starts attacking him, and they run right into a tree.
Oh, and kind of goes into the obvious reveal of her head being like, transplanted open.
Yeah, because there's several scenes where like she's fixing her wig,
Mm-hmm.
and the reason it is because of the mark. I just realized that all of them are wearing hats, and it's because of the mark.
Mm-hmm.
Huh. It's cool. Anyway, so Georgina's dead because of the car accident, and Chris is pretty much spent at this point.
Sure, I would be spent
exhausted.
too.
Rose has a gun, and she shoots at him, misses, hits the car mirror first.
And then
Chris gets out. He walks a little way. She misses again, hits the tree. And he starts heading down, and that's when Walter shows up.
Grandpa,
and, yeah,
get him.
Grandpa, get him. Walter starts doing his little run and tackles Chris. And Rose shows up with the gun, but Chris, again, being a fucking jiu-jitsu master at this point, realizes, hey, I remember what happens. Flash gets Walter out of there, and I wish I knew Homeboy's name, but the guy, actual guy...
They never gave him a name.
Never gave him a name, but we're going to say the real Walter. The real Walter comes out, and he tells Rose to hand him the gun, and he acts like he's about to shoot Chris, turns around, and shoots Rose. Right in the gullet!
Ooh, that was a great one. That was satisfying.
And then it's sad, but it's also understandable. He shoots himself.
Honestly,
he self-murders.
I mean, but is he really unaliving himself, or is he unaliving Walter?
I think that's the whole thing. Is like it's understandable why he's doing it, but he does.
He unalives himself, and he honestly, I'm not gonna say he's himself. He just unalives Walter. He kills Walter, and now it's just
Chris.
Chris and
Rose is still alive. Yeah.
And Rose tried to be like, "Oh, I love you." And
yeah, I love you. You know, this was just a mistake. You know, I've always loved you. And Chris has a moment where he's like, I'm going to kill this bitch. And he starts choking her. But again, with what I feel as the whole deer metaphor and everything is Chris isn't like them. He does have a soft spot. And also, this is someone that you did love at a certain point. Fucked up things happened. Yeah, you revealed that she's like basically a neo-Nazi lizard person.
But you still care.
You still had those
unfortunately.
moments. You still had those feelings. So he can't do it because Chris is a decent individual. And he goes to leave. But before he leaves, red and blue lights.
Sirens come up. But the minute that I saw the turds airport on that doggone car, like a sigh, there's a huge sigh of relief just like came over me. Because I was like,
and usually,
it's not police.
Usually I prefer bleak endings in my horror movies. Not this one. Chris been through enough. Chris deserves a good ending.
I agree. He deserves the good ending.
Because, I mean, everyone knows about the alternate ending where it ended up being police, and it didn't test well with audiences.
I'm glad it didn't. Oh, so I want to read this trivia right quick. Daniel Kaluuya was given the lead role on the spot after nailing his audition. Jordan Peele said Kaluuya did about 5 takes of a key scene in which his character needs to cry, and each was so perfect that a single tear came down at the exact same time for each take, which adds on to Daniel Kaluuya's like masterful acting ability and just Oscar leading role. He needs a leading role for an Oscar. Like, give my boy his flowers.
Oh, yeah.
God,
he's good. But yeah, no, it's not the cops. It's TSA. It's Rod.
It's Rod.
It's Rod.
And one of the final scenes, the final words said in this film is like, "I told you not to go to that white girl house." And
Chris kind of just sits there for a minute. He's like, "Just saying, I told you."
And I'm just like, the utter realization just on his face, and I was like, "This is how we end."
Yeah.
This is how we end the film.
And that's Get Out. That is Jordan Peele's debut, not only as a writer, but as a director as well.
And from sketch comedy to horror, and the prominence that Jordan Peele was able to raise in the horror scene and in those genres, from Get Out to Us to being the host of the new Twilight Zone to his upcoming movie, which I'm pretty sure is a sci-fi horror movie. Nope.
It's coming out this year, and I will see it.
I'm just thoroughly impressed, especially for a debut film. It feels like for something, it was like lightning in a bottle.
Mm-hmm.
I guess for some people, lightning strike twice with Us, but this is a great way to start off this month in Black History and in Black Directors Month, because this is an example of, I'm not gonna say it's an example of what you should do, but this is the most classic example of peak cinema when it comes to Black horror directors.
Yeah.
And everything from then on out is either, comes before or comes after. And you can tell that the experiences prior to Jordan Peele and the experiences after Jordan Peele, which each movie that we're going to do review in this, month. So I am really just excited for everybody to just kind of listen and to watch these films and to kind of experience everything that I'm kind of feeling. My final thoughts, kind of rolling into that. Final thoughts, as much as this film gives me it physically pains me sometimes to watch it, it's a brilliant film. And I'm not even going to rate it because it's timeless. Any flaws that may be in the film from a technical or a writing standpoint, it gets overshadowed by the fact that it had just happened to come at the absolute perfect time, and it was literally just like lightning in a bottle. It's just the most timely film, and every rewatch gets there's more nuances that you pick up from it. Everything about this film, you feel so much, and I feel like I felt so much that it physically pains me sometimes to watch it, because I get so uncomfortable with these situations that can honestly sometimes happen in real life. And even if it's not to this like very bombastic, methodical way, it's still stuff that can happen to Black people, and based off history alone, history and societal norms alone, that it blows my entire mind, and I just can't rate it. Like it's on its own tier. This is like Houseu levels of its own freaking tier, and I can't really. I feel like any kind of rating I give it will be just an injustice to how perfectly timed, perfectly done, just how perfect this film is. And I just feel so much about it because, yeah, it's just so much that goes into it, and it should mean a lot to me as a filmmaker as well as just a person. And yeah, Heath?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's borderline a perfect film. Between the writing, I mean, every little thing is set up perfectly. The metaphors are set up perfectly. The foreshadowing is set up perfectly. The theme of the movie, even though, again, there are movies out there that use the body swapping trope, this is used in such a thematically perfect way. It's topical. It's extremely well acted, from hating the people you need to hate to loving the people you need to love. It's a movie that no matter how old it gets, I think it's still going to be relevant. And I can't fault it. And for that, it gets 5 stars. I mean, it's a 5-star movie, not only from a technical aspect, but from a, you get something new from it every time you watch it, and it's entertaining after rewatching. It's 5 stars, hands down. It's borderline perfect. So yeah, that's been Get Out, written, directed by Jordan Peele. I obviously love it. It means a whole shit ton to Jay, and I hope you guys check it out if you haven't seen it yet before. It's fucking phenomenal. It's worth it. And honestly, a perfect film to start off our Black Directors Month. Next week, we will be doing Bones.
Yeah, Bones.
Snoop Dogg film. Woo! I really like Bones. It reminds me of blaxploitation.
I've never seen it, so I'm excited for this one.
Yeah, I'm really excited for this movie. It's directed by Ernest R. Dickerson. And like I said, it reminds me of like a modern take of blaxploitation, and it's campy, but it's campy in like really, really great ways. And it's early 2000s, directed by obviously a Black director, and it's just the respect that it pays to blaxploitation, which was the original, Black voices in horror, is just phenomenal. So really looking forward to seeing that next week. And if you guys want to listen to it, get our take on not only Get Out, not only Bones, not only Black-directed horror movies, but just horror movies in general, do please subscribe, like, check us out on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, all the podcasts. Go to our YouTube channel. Check us out on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. I mean, we're basically everywhere. All you got to do is just find us. Just type in Host of Horrors. We are there. And if you want to get notified for future episodes, because not only do we do these episodes, but we also do reviews on other movies, other projects. We talk about miscellaneous bullshit, just all kinds of stuff. So subscribe, hit that little bell, and yeah, until next time, I've been Heath.
And I've been Jay.
And you've been listening to Host of Horrors.